reading. So I will watch it, Mary Louise, and I can't wait to listen
So
to you.
much of your poetry's been inspired by Michigan. So were you inspired at all while you were there?
Unbelievably. Yes.
It's okay.
Yes, it is. It is. It was a trip that is for all of us quite phenomenal. Every one of us. From I have family in Las Vegas. I have family in Austin, Texas, and everybody in Michigan and on the East Coast. All of us, we all came together, and it was family reunion at the same time as it was a wedding of one of the younger cousins, or my niece. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was beautiful. The amount of family family vibes from a whole lot of different spectrums, a whole age, politics, space, everything. It was, it was right outside of Grosse Pointe, so it's a beautiful area as well. Wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. Besides the long, my daughter told me, we will never do this again. We are not going to drive again. It was a long drive.
We will be starting in about 8 minutes.
That's pretty precise.
Not 8.5?
I can almost be like wishing on a star. All right. So, John Martucci, you part of the open mic.
Yeah.
The one, the only, Mary Louise Kiernan, are you part of the open mic?
Not this evening, but thank you for asking.
Oh, sure. Cheat everybody, every wonderful work. It's okay. Marilyn Johnson, would you like to join us? Marilyn?
Yes, please.
Cool. Timothy Maloney, would you like to join us?
Yes, please.
Patricia Camper, or would you like to join us?
Francie Camper?
Oh, Francie? Yeah, okay. It said Patricia. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
Cool. Linette, I know you're on. Linette. John Bartell, you part of the open mic, yes?
Yes, please.
You got it. Mr. Dellaroca, are you part of the open mic?
Yes, sir.
Cool. I would like to thank Lenny here and now for a wonderful interview he did with me for the South Florida Poetry Journal, or SoFlo Pojo, as they like to call it. It's running in the new issue, so thank you, Lenny.
It's up and running in the new issue, yes. May issue.
Greg Correll, yes. Greg Correll. I don't see Ken Holland, but I know he's coming. Did I miss anybody? Have I missed anybody? Hi, Kathy. Hi, Catherine. How are you? Nancy, how are you? Sheldon Brown, would you like to be part of the open mic? Ooh, we got Sergeant Pepper and backup Lenny there.
I think that's a no.
Okay. I don't know who WB is, but you're more than welcome to join us if you'd like. Hi, Sheldon.
What does being part of the open mic entail?
You can read 2 poems. 5 minutes.
Today I'm here to listen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. Where are you coming in from?
Downstairs from Kathy.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, Sheldon.
Hi.
Where's Kathy?
Upstairs.
She's upstairs.
Mike,
Yeah.
S.L. Maurice.
Huh?
There's a gentleman here, S.L. Maurice. Did you get him for open mic?
No.
I'm here. You can put me like put me a little bit lower on the list.
Okay.
Close
Uh, there was somebody else here I saw. Amanda, we got Amanda.
Commissioner's building.
We got, oh, I gotta get
Hi,
that.
Amanda.
Hey.
Ken Holland. Oh, Ron Bremner, you want to join us?
Sure, why not?
Cool. I knew there was another person. All right, let's get these bios all warmed up.
Here comes someone else. Bob,
Bob Heman's definitely in either.
yeah, we're, it looks like we're gonna make it to 25.
Sweet. Bob Heman. There's the bio. Okay.
Guy Reed just came in too, Mike.
Who?
Guy Reed.
Okay. Oh, we got a full open mic tonight. That's perfect. All right. What was that?
How you doing, man?
Okay.
SL, your sound is breaking up quite a bit. If you can hear me, when you were speaking earlier, it was very fragmented. Couldn't understand it. I think your connection is iffy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be changing that a little bit sooner.
Groovy.
Is there anything you want me to repeat or reiterate or communicate a little bit more effectively? Can I communicate anything to make up for it over chat?
Yeah,
Mind you,
go ahead.
I'm like in a state building right now, so connection might be a little bit dodgy. I have thankfully I have a hotspot that I can connect to. I can just connect to the hotspot. Maybe then it'll help with reception a little bit better.
Doing better. This is much better than it was.
Yeah.
One of those times I couldn't understand a word you were saying. I can understand everything you're saying right now.
Okay, perfect. To clarify, I've got 2 poems I'm willing to share later. You know, I mean, if you want to put me like down closer to the end of the list, I mean, just to give you a little background story of like my circumstances, I got mandated to work. You know, it's a state position, so I mean, I have I have to be vigilant, obviously, like pay attention to like bills that come in, but for the most part, it's very low maintenance, low impact work. It's just, you know, by mandate of people being in a government building that I got to be here. But in the meantime, I can definitely chat and, you know, I'll probably be popping in and out. I definitely will do the best I can to give everybody my undivided attention and to be receptive and proactive with people
I can
sharing.
You're a stand-up guy, SL, from everything you're saying. Don't worry about it at all. Participate however you can, and when it comes to be your turn, you know, go to the hotspot or something, I guess.
Thank you.
Thanks, SL.
Absolutely.
Sam, would you like to join us on the open mic?
Absolutely.
Cool. Oh,
I would love to.
okay.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. What time we got?
7:10.
7:10. All right, we'll wait another couple minutes and get things started. I'll just do my regular spiel. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to Calling All Poets First Friday. We've been doing this First Friday for 26 years now, and I want to thank you for joining us on this specific one. Our 3 featured readers will be Jared Harel, Nancy Shih-Knodel, and Kathryn Weld. They will be reading for 20 to 22 minutes, 23 minutes each. And we can all say nice things about them and let them know. We do encourage you to use the chat. And what else can I tell you? Oh, I want to give a special shout out. She's not here tonight. She texted me earlier about a sleepless night. Maggie Hall and Janet Kaplan have been very generous in their support of CAPS, and they continue to be. And Susan Schutz, who runs Next Year's Words, many of you know her. She has been a generous donator also. And so I want to give a shout out to them. And we may or may not discuss a new idea that Greg and I have for CAPS. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how far his cocktail takes him and how far the wine takes me, and maybe we'll let you in on it. But it's coming. And yeah, let's take a couple more minutes and we'll get the show started. Huzzah.
Greg, something happened to your beard.
Yeah, it's called wind.
It's like it used to be sort of like one way, and now it is.
Like a Japanese fan. Yes, I know.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, thanks. I like it. I can drag the edges like this and give myself a real Russian Tolstoyan kind of.
Oh my word.
It's nothing to create those mustaches.
Yeah, you're starting to look like a gulag commander. Yes, that's about it.
I'd rather be the inmate than the commander. History shines better. And
Hi, we got you on the open mic, so you're all set there. All right. Oh, here's that moment of pre-silence before everything starts. Dun, 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 dun. Everybody's wondering what happens next. Dun, 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 dun. Not to toot my own horn, but in the chat, you'll see the link to the interview with Lenny and the South Florida Poetry Journal. So there you go. It's quite the inspiring discussion, if I can say so, if I can say so myself. Thank you for that, Lenny, by the way.
I'm gonna take a snapshot. Does anybody mind? And I'll probably I'll post it on Facebook.
Nope, it's good with me.
If you don't want to be in it, then shut your video.
Nah, it's all good.
If you do want to be in on it, turn on your video.
Maybe I should take a video of this and have everybody talking at once and put that in. No, I'm kidding.
Fine, of every poem we're reading tonight.
Right?
But we're all ready.
Everybody read their poem right now, all at once, and
Yeah,
That would be a great video. All the talking heads.
Yeah, it would be something.
what the heck do you think these Zooms are?
everybody say Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary.
No, it's outside.
I'm really bad at this. It's going to probably be blurry. So if you don't see it on Facebook, if we're on Facebook, then it's probably because I screwed it up.
Okay, Lenny, I will unmute for a moment because you can do it right off your computer. It will make us great
The
screen.
screenshot, you're right. Yeah, I can do that. Thank you.
Camera will be very pixelated. So do you want me to
You're-
privately let you know?
Yeah. I just figured out that I had this screenshot on the computer without having to do the other one.
Okay.
So I always have this one, yeah.
Julie Lomoe and Julian are joining us. That's nice.
Roberta as well.
Oh man, we got a full house tonight.
Cool, because now if I screen share this, you won't know which one is the correct one. I know because we're kind of fixed solid, so
There we are.
it came out pretty good.
If you look at chat, I just took a high-res screenshot of everybody, including the most recent 3 that just came in. And
Ah,
you can drag it out there.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
All
I
right.
always find it interesting that we're all in, like on my screen, I'm at a different, on yours, I'm down over here under Mike. Right? On my screen, Mike is down over here to the right. It's all
Those-
different.
Well, I like to be elusive, so that's how that works.
I'm Sumi.
All right, how about we get started?
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. Our three featured readers will be Jared Harel and Nancy Shih-Knodel and Kathryn Weld. Our first featured reader, Gerald Harold's most recent poetry collection, Let Our Bodies Change the Subject, University of Nebraska Press 2023, was selected by Kwame Dawes as the winner of the Prairie Schooner Roz Schumer Book Prize. All right, let's start that again since we just started recording. Jared Harrell's most recent poetry collection, Let Our Bodies Change the Subject, University of Nebraska Press 2023, was selected by Kwame Dawes as the winner of the Prairie Schooner Roz Shoemaker Book Prize and named a finalist for the National Jewish Book Award and the Patterson Poetry Prize. His poems have recently appeared in such journals as 32 Poems, the Poetry Journal, Plowshares, Poetry Daily, Southern Review, and The Sun. Awarded the Stanley Kunitz Memorial Prize from American Poetry Review, as well as the William Matthews Prize from Asheville Poetry Review, Jared teaches writing, plays drums, coaches basketball, and lives with his family in Westchester, New York. For more information, his website, jaredharold.com. Just so folks know, Jared and I, we met each other through a national reading for Poets for Harris. And I really fell in love with what he did. And he's here today, so I want to thank him for joining us. Give a nice Zoom applause for first timer for CAPS, Jared Harel.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. What a wonderful and warm group that we have. Really a pleasure to spend this Friday evening with everybody. Excited to hear everybody else read the other features as well as the open micers. I got my clock, and so we are good to go. So I'm going to read some poems to you all. I'll read one from my first collection and then mostly from my newest collection, and then maybe end with one or two new poems. So I'm going to read from the opening poem of my first collection. My wife is a lawyer and bills in 10-minute increments, and I am not. So sometimes when she is feeling particularly ambitious and running late, she has this phrase that she says, which is "go so you can come back." And this poem is anchored in that phrase. I also make reference to a poem by James Wright. So you can look out for that as well. Go so you can come back. Go so you can come back, says my wife. Meaning go, but don't linger in frozen foods or forget where you parked or chat up the cashier. Go, certainly, because something needs getting while the baby takes a nap and the snow isn't snowing, and here are some coupons that happen to be expiring. So go before all the ripe produce turns soft and stringy and school lets out, and a tallish boy hawking Skittles by the entrance wins you over. And you throw him cash, your wallet, everything for the sake of his underfunded football team, because though you never loved football, you love James Wright's poem about football and solitude and those suicidally beautiful galloping sons who go at it and go because I love you. Though I also love those Parmesan pop chips, and to love is to leave room for longing. But come back so that we might go out together later, in a perpetual rotation of goings and comings, which requires nothing but patience and faith that when we go, we remember where is home. So I'm going to read some poems from my collection, Let Our Bodies Change the Subject, that came out last year from University of Nebraska Press. It's a collection that's sort of knee-deep in parenthood. I have two children, a 12-year-old daughter now and a 9-year-old son, both of whom show up quite often in the book to their tremendous delight. We'll see if that continues into their teenage years, but for now, they're quite happy being in these poems. I'm going to start with the opening poem in the collection. And so this poem sort of was conceived over the course of a summer in which, question by incisive question, my daughter kind of came to understand death in her own way. And this poem takes place in and around New York City. So you'll notice Queens and Coney Island and so on and so forth. The poem is called Sad Roller Coaster. My daughter is in the kitchen, working out death. She wants to get it, how it tastes and feels. Her teacher talks like it's some glittery gold sticker. Her classmates hear rumors, launch it as a curse when toys aren't shared. Between bites of cantaloupe, she considers what she knows. Her friend's grandpa lives only in her iPad. Dr. Seuss passed, but keeps speaking in rhyme. We go to Queen's Zoo and spot the beakish skull of a white-tailed deer tucked between rocks in the puma's enclosure. It's just for show, I explain, explaining nothing. That night and the one after, my daughter dreams of bones, how they lift out of her skin and try on her dresses. So silly, she asks, when I ask if she's okay. Then, toward the back end of summer, we head to Coney Island to catch a Cyclones game. We buy popcorn and fries. A pop fly arcs over checkerboard grass. When past the warning track, the park wall, she sees a giant wooden spine. This brownish red maze traced in decay. She calls it Sad Roller Coaster, then begs to be taken home. This next one's also a New York City poem. This one features both of my kids, and it has a tiny bit of singing in it, for which I apologize in advance. It's called All I've Ever Wanted. The almond milk has turned. Flecks of foul snow slink in slow liquid. Not the discover I had angled for this morning, but as my dad likes to sing like some Jewish Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want, which is just what I croon to my two children, driving them up the wall because, of course, all they want is to get what they want. A fifth scoop of gelato, to play Minecraft till their eyeballs pixelate in their skulls. What humbling work to haul kids toward thoughtful, the kind in humankind like a foreign language on a stubborn tongue. Yet even as a toddler, my son would refuse a lollipop if his sister didn't get one, still plucks an extra sticker to gift her after school. And hell, my daughter can't ride an elevator without making a new friend or some lady's day by praising her earrings, her sweater, or purse. My point about discovery has escaped me by now, though I know the old chorus for thwarted desire. My cereal will be dry, coffee taken black. I will try against hope to be better than myself, which is all I've ever wanted and everything I need. Thank you. So over spring break, when my kids were off from school, I took them to see the Minecraft movie. I'm not sure if many of you have gone out to see that. But it reminded me that I have actually written a Minecraft poem. But I didn't know at the time I was writing a Minecraft poem. In fact, this poem kind of sprung out of one of the strangest conversations I'd ever been a part of. And it was with my family at the dinner table, with my two kids. It's called Survival Mode. Our daughter is killing villagers again. I'm upset because we talked about this, the villager killing, last week over dinner, and how we're totally not okay with it. Now here she is, killing villagers again. It was different this time, our daughter insists. I just needed somewhere to sleep. She spears a single green bean, lifts it to her lips. You can't get mad at me for needing somewhere to sleep. Our son nods along, either listening or bouncing his bangs into his eyes. My wife and I glance at each other. Truth be told, we need more information. What was she doing roaming a village with nowhere to sleep? Was killing really the last reasonable resort? Couldn't she have bartered or built her own bed? We're set to interrogate when our son suddenly stops bobbing his head to ask what a villager looks like, dead. Oh, says our daughter, setting down her fork. You know how dead cows look, all red after they fall to the ground? Same with villagers. They just die, and that's it. And then they disappear. So I listened to this conversation. I was like, what is going on here? But then I went up and I wrote it right away. Most of my poems go through a ton of revisions, but this is one of those rare poems where I just typed it, and in 15 minutes it was done, and it was sort of there before I knew what it even was, which happens once in a while. So one of the things about having kids and being a parent for me is that it gave me a fresh lens through which to see my own parents as people who were young and winging it and doing their best. So this is a poem that sort of has 3 generations in it. It has my mom in it, me, and then my son. And it takes place in Adventureland in Long Island. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Adventureland. So this poem is called Behind the Painted Guardrail. My mom and I take my son to Adventureland to ride every conceivable vehicle in identical slow circles. We watch as the fire truck keeps pace with a rocket ship, an old buggy with the Formula One racer. The park is pretty dead, so she lets him stay on. This teenage employee with a bright red visor and a look so vacant, it quiets the soul. As a kid, I once proclaimed, when I get older, I want to work at Adventureland, to which my mother swiftly replied, when you get older, you want to own Adventureland. Turns out I did neither, but that exchange persists in the annals of family history as a testament to ambition and a healthy entrepreneurial spirit. In truth, my mother knew little about me, but loved both the me I was and wasn't, a devotion so bright I'd vanish in its glow. My son knows only left turns. He spins and keeps spinning in his blue police cruiser before seizing a bulldozer 6 feet away. My mom and I wave from behind the painted guardrail as he sways back and forth, steering and honking like he owns the place. The teenager yawns, flips a rusty switch. I want to tell my mother more than I can say. Thank you. I'll read a few more from the collection and then a couple new ones. So let's see. You know, you put these little tabs in the book, and they help sometimes, but not all the time. So it was recently Passover, and I realized I have a Passover poem, and feel free to place whatever strongman framing on this poem you'd like. It's called As Plagues Go. As plagues go, 10 seems excessive. Consider how the first darkened water to blood, the mighty Nile gushing like a giant slit throat. That Pharaoh refused to relinquish his slaves and continued to refuse says all you need to know about men plus power. But you know what gets me? How after each plague, when Moses demanded that the Israelites be released, God hardened Pharaoh's heart to ensure he wouldn't relent. A divine rigging and a pretty dick move. I want to believe God had his reasons, but I've seen his kind. All his miracles are crimes. So this next one is a poem that I thought was hopefully no longer relevant, but has become relevant again. I wrote this after the 2016 election, part 1. And you might have remembered that the musician Leonard Cohen passed away that same week, which struck me as solid timing on his part. Leonard Cohen's final album was entitled You Want It Darker. And so the poem is entitled You Want It Darker. The day after the election, Leonard Cohen is dead, and my eye gets infected, and my daughter flies around the living room, refusing to put on underwear. I can barely lift my head to see the smug sun pouring through the blinds, streaming its white spotlight on each darkened wall. I'm all in on grief and misery, all in shock and fuck this country, but it's still a day I don't teach but strap my son into his Cheerio-encrusted stroller and wheel him to his baby taps dance class at the Y. We arrive to find the teacher red-eyed and wrecked, her t-shirt wrinkled, acoustic slung low. Only one other parent is bothered to show, her kid wailing beneath the moon glow of her phone. When it becomes clear no one else is coming, the teacher begins to strum and sing of fall, of piggies at market and monkeys in our beds. We squeeze our fingers into spinning fists and imagine we are buses peeling out of town. It all culminates in the world's saddest rendition of If You're Happy and You Know It, in which we're summoned to rise up off our multicolored mats, to clap and stomp and shout, hooray! Oh God, oh Leonard, who shed this life like a pinstripe suit, who saw this mess and chose not to stay, but slip between the bricks of his tower of song. The sun is still out there, armored and gleaming. There is nothing I can say to make it stop. I'll read 3 more poems for y'all. I think I'm doing okay on time, right? Okay. So I'll read 1 more poem from the collection and then maybe a couple new ones. So over COVID, my in-laws sold their home, and one thing that didn't make the move was their set of Encyclopedia Britannica, their full leather-bound set. And I saw it sort of slumped in the recycling bin, and it seemed like kind of a sad thing for me to see them there, like the changing of a guard. And so I thought I'd write them an elegy. And so this poem is called Elegy for Recycled Encyclopedias. In the end, every detail in the world couldn't save you. Not a thorough summation of medieval plumbing systems, nor the range and migration patterns of a Eurasian bullfinch. Not Bach, cuckoo clocks, or even Piaget's theory of object permanence did the trick. Amid the dim, dusty heft of entry after entry, each smoke-stained century, treaty, and canal, there was the hard data of your being redundant, a poor use of space. So after decades insisting you hold post between a lazy boy and an upright piano, we split the tight ranks of your regiment, your navy and maroon uniforms with gold foil trim. No, you weren't shocked. You knew all too well the way of phonographs and monocles, giant ground sloths and floppy disks. Grime grew from your uncracked spines, save nostalgia or the occasional Wi-Fi hitch. It's a miracle that we are, till the instant we aren't. You knew that too. A knowledge as mythic and dispensable as fact. And so I'll end with a couple new poems. And thank you so much for listening. And if you're interested in the book, I'll put a link in the chat to them there, wherever you get your books. Oh, that's to one person in particular. Let me try that again. There you go. So as I was saying at the top, the kids are getting older, and one thing that happens being a parent is you notice so quickly the passage of time. And so this is a poem that speaks a little bit to that, called Last Bath. It hasn't happened yet. the awkward bloom of my children's bodies, the bathroom pin lock pushed in, the steady stream of marathon showers, bolts of thick steam, all shadowy blue. They're still here, together, the two of them like sealed pups in a porcelain tub as it brims with bubbles, rubber fish, spongy green letters speckled with mold. How long till toy ships are docked and moored? It hasn't happened yet, but just yesterday my daughter asked for privacy before brushing her teeth, of all things. That delicate word out there on her lips like new fruit. I almost laughed, but nodded instead. The white door before me, the knob, the click. And this will be my last poem. Thank you all so much for listening. And I'm right on time. All right, good. This poem has kind of a grandiose title, but it's not that grand of a poem. It's for my son, and my son really loves snakes. And he's been wanting us to get a pet snake lately, which we have been holding the fort against for a while now. It's called Desires of the World. Our son wants rats. Our son wants rats to feed to the snake he really wants. My wife and I want our son to stop wanting immediately, though at least he still desires the world. My wife and I want the world to back off. We'd like a to-do list of inky blue strike-throughs, a clean, easy bed to crawl in and sleep. Most nights our son slinks under covers, shoves between us, so cute we usually don't mind. A friend of mine says rats actually make great pets, are super intelligent, loyal, etc. The one drawback, he tells me, is they don't live very long. Perfect for our son, who'd prefer them served up, dropped in the enclosure of a python or boa as undulating muscles coil and constrict. I think our son is something of a naturalist. He spins around spitting facts and quizzes. Did you know snakes have no eyelids, are practically solar powered? Name the 5 deadliest animals, besides humans, on Earth. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Jared, thank you so much. Everyone unmute, say a few kind words, man.
Bravo. What a reading. Terrific stuff. Great stuff.
That was great.
Bravo.
Fantastic.
You're also nice.
Fantastic.
So visual and well written.
Oh, that was great.
I think it's absolutely fantastic that you did a lot of poetry about your children.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I have a niece that I just saw recently when I went back to Michigan. She wanted to be a raccoon. When she was young, she used to get underneath the dining room table and be a raccoon. She was convinced that she was going to be a raccoon. So I really appreciate the focus on young minds.
Did you
Yeah,
go crazy with the eyeshadow?
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful poetry about children. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
That was great, Jared. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Come by anytime. You're an official capper now, so come on by when you can. All right. I'll mute myself. That wouldn't work if I'm reading a bio. Okay. Our next featured reader, Nancy Shih-Knodel, is author of the chapbook, The Landscape of the Body, Redbird Chapbooks, and her poems have appeared in the Crab Orchard Review, Water Stone Review, the Examined Life Journal, Martin Lake Journal, Third Wednesday, Midway Journal, the Heartland Review, and the Orchard's Poetry Journal. She has also been nominated for Best of the Net, and her poem Sublimation was the 3rd place winner in the Robert Grimes Good Earth Poetry Contest, sponsored by the Florida Community College at Jacksonville. She received her PhD in English Literature from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and taught at North Hennepin Community College in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Friend of Cap's for a while and an advocate for us also. Nancy, you're up.
Thanks so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to tell Jared that my daughter has had a boa constrictor for many years. It's not so bad as you think. Okay, I think I'll start with some poems from my chapbook and then move on to current poems that I've written recently. In 2008, unfortunately, I had breast cancer, and it was really a process. So I thought that I could work through it through poetry, and it's sort of a chronicle of my journey with breast cancer. So I'll start with The Landscape of the Body. Part 1. You desperately want to keep what you were born with, the landscape of your body, like the old maple tree in the yard, the apple orchard you visit each fall, its long rows of long growing trees, so easy to reach and pendulous with fruit. 2. Breasts are the sirens of the body, what everyone strains to look at while pretending not to. The tantalizing cleavage, the nipples peeking through a silk blouse. But their habitat is the barnyard, offering the sweet warm milk that saves lives. Rose of Sharon feeding a starving old man. Rose of Sharon feeding the world. 3. When I discovered the lump, it was lodged comfortably in its den of soft tissue, hard against the chest wall, an invasive ductal carcinoma, a hard, desiccated worm in an apple. When it was living inside of me, I could feel the lump's hardness like an apple. And in that instant, I became the apple grove. I became the apple tree. And I wanted someone to reach inside my body and pick the apple. This is called Ready. Half a century, another footprint in the sand waiting to be erased. I'm celebrating my nativity in the hospital, but I'm brimming with exaltation, glad for the cups and saucers cleaned and ready to put away, for the junk out of the basement, ready for the dumpster, for the bed neatly made and ready for the patient, for the wonderful surgeon who wields his scalpel and who is always ready. Yeah. You have your little stickies, but then you lose your place. Sorry.
No worries. Take your time.
Okay.
Happens to all.
I'm a little nervous. I don't know why. Bilateral mastectomy, the aftermath. So, one of the unfortunate aspects of my journey is that I actually opted for a bilateral mastectomy, and not a very pleasant experience. Trying to corner the moments of mounting desperation, I try to steady the trembling spoon to my closed mouth, struggle to keep still on a stiff bed while it creaks beneath me, work to smooth over the long gashes that won't seem to heal, permanent rifts that divide a continent. A calm moment in front of the mirror belies the turmoil growing inside me like another cancer, a montage of wartime atrocities fixated on the mutilation of women, their breasts sliced off, their wombs cut open, their unborn children impaled on steel. Even now, there are moments when it's hard to find the courage to look, as when, after waking from surgery, I hid my eyes, imagining a version of my violated body I could live with. A perfect mannequin, free of the sutures, planted in military formation across my chest, the stitches arranged neatly on a rag doll with no stuffing. After the bandages were removed, relief and triumph gave way to fear and loathing. The fresh wound, a fissure in the landscape of my body, the hematoma like a heaving cone of lava, the heavy bruising of mustard yellow and dark purple incised into my skin like a tattoo, the small lumps of clotted blood filling in the vacant spaces. This is called Sleep Sitting Up. Sleep sitting up because you have to, because you aren't ready to lie down, bowing to the pain that won't stop stalking you like a furious firestorm raging through your chest. To remind yourself you aren't quite ready for your eyes to turn inward, for the cloudy moonstones, the blank and hollow sockets. To remind yourself you aren't quite ready for the undertaker who'll doll you up as if it's your last fancy dress ball. And then I'm going to just end with this poem from this collection with before and after. You're not sure when you cross the border where the glorious sun-drenched mountain range became cloaked in invisibility by the darkness of folds and valleys, where cells kept dividing uncontrollably. The weather changed. Black clouds loomed up all of a sudden, splitting the horizon in two. And then you finally realized that you were totally blind while others around you were speaking of the sky, that the wide open sea you'd been adrift in for so many years was nothing more than a small, shallow basin, enclosed, claustrophobic, circumscribed, while the currents of water still moved in their prescribed trajectories, falling faster and faster in diminishing spirals toward a center that no longer held. Okay, I'd like to move on. A while ago, I happened to be at an art gallery, and it was the pieces in the art gallery were wood-turned objects, you know, bowls and creations made out of turned wood. And I was just when I read the captions, the names of the wood were just so beautiful. The words were so beautiful. And I just wrote them all down, and I sort of created this poem as a way of incorporating those beautiful words for wood. So this poem is called Wood Turning. In their latest incarnations, these vessels of wood still bear the vestiges of life once lived in the wind and the wild, survivors of drought or bounty dictated by the sun, their intricate bodies penetrated by a bird's beak or by larval incisions. In their burnished formality, cultivated and tool embellished, there is nostalgia for the days of leafy ostentation, of showy spring blossoms, the lovely edible fruit. In their rough informality are visible the historical wounds uncured by human touch, accidental vesicles stamped into the flesh of buckeye burl, fine-lined scratches, inky on spalted sycamore, a bloody gash across the skin of ashleaf maple. In their silent monumentality, apparitions loom, startling in their strange, unfathomable beauty, a golden glow blurring the sinuous contours of Osage orange, bulging owl's eyes staring out of oval rims in gold-field burl, ornate biographies tattooed into sanded birch. And in the fissures and the scars, piercing the center of bloodwood or purple heart, in the dull black luster of Gabon ebony, in the barely perceptible veining of wood, we can hear the haunting songs that still beat in the heart of the forest. So several years ago, I finally retired as a teacher. And one of the things I had wanted to do was do some useful, meaningful volunteer work in my retirement. And my daughter introduced me to a scientist who is the head of the eel project in Poughkeepsie, New York. A lot of people don't know that there are actually eels that swim up the Hudson River, and they go into all the tributaries off the Hudson in Fallkill and other creeks along the Hudson River. And the eel is a very sacred animal to indigenous peoples. It's also highly endangered. And so I became involved with the Eel Project, which is run by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And each year they count the eels and they track them and study them. So this is my poem about being an eel counter. It's called Chasing Eels. And I have an epigraph from Diane Seuss. It's dark. I love the dark. And it loves me. And this is from her poem from I Could Do It. I could walk into the sea. Okay. So here I am in my tan waders, standing knee deep in the frigid waters of the Fallkill and the waning days of winter. It's a cloudy day, light rain stippling the gently rolling waters as they empty into the ostentatious expanse of the Hudson River, the light winds harboring the promise of warmer days to come. I'm here with others, a gathering of eager students and citizen scientists, the coursing of many currents converging at its source, standing on the native lands of the Wappinger people, who once hunted game in the nearby woods, gathering fruits and nuts, harvesting shellfish in the creek, fishing for catfish, perch, herring, and the elusive eel. Which is why we're here hundreds of years later, for the annual census of glass eels, tiny transparent ribbons of sinuous energy slithering rapidly upstream through the cold, clear waters, and as barely visible as any being can be who desires to remain hidden, having made a precarious 1,000-mile journey from its unknown, undiscovered birthplace somewhere out in the whirling depths of the Sargasso Sea. They will stay here a while, maybe 20 or 30 years, becoming elvers, then yellow eels, continuing to grow and feed, living out their days in these noisy urban waters until their final transformation into silver eels, who, as if conjured into being by a magic spell, will strike out one last time on a final voyage to that refuge of quiet darkness where they will spawn and then die. Like their offspring, I too have traveled thousands of miles, navigating through the uncharted ways of luck and circumstance to arrive here at this very instant as I cradle in my hand one silently writhing glass eel. Okay, and then I just have a few more poems that I'll end with. And again, thank you for your attention and thank you for listening. This poem is called The Interruption. We were sitting in your living room, drinking warm tea, chatting quietly about this and that, the orange glow of early evening gradually fading just outside your window. We would not speak of the sorrow we shared, though we felt its presence like a silent guest sitting by the door. We marked the slow draining of our cups toward emptiness, our halting intakes of breath, the hearts stifled in insistent music. Suddenly, you stopped, staring intently out into the distance, and we turned to follow your gaze. A solitary doe making her way uncertainly through the winter garden. I'm going to end with two political poems. I feel like we're living in very difficult times. And so I wanted to somehow address that in my poetry. So I just have two more poems. First is called Your Fear is Not Our Fear. Your fear is not our fear because yours has the power and mastery to multiply ours enough to overwhelm us. For your fear contains the machinery to manufacture engines of violence, to command that ballot boxes be stuffed full of votes for your cause, fed by the lies and phony news disseminated by fakers and frauds, who are more than glad to feed the hunger of the swelling mob, wielding their weapons to kick down our doors and obliterate our houses of straw, only to find us with our hands empty, a little hill of beans on the table, in a tiny room with nothing but a small knapsack full of beautiful dreams, which is all we had when we crossed the border, which is all we've ever had. Even when we were living in that other hell, chased down by another kind of terror. Please know that when we are homeless and destitute, or lying in our graves, our greatest regret was that we never had a chance to share a cup of sweet tea with you, so you could look into our eyes and see our fear. And then I'll end with this last poem. 5 months after the election, a boulder falls. Such an anxious, unsettling period. Then April arrived with its shifty moods, irritable and stingy, bringing in cold, foggy mornings that shrouded sun and sky, followed by relentless rains falling day after day. Yesterday, the main road through town closed down. Traffic slowed, then stopped. A boulder, seemingly impregnable, nestled in its perch overlooking the road, decided to let go, tumbling down the hill where it smashed into a building that had stood at its base for over 50 years. Demolished it completely. Nothing left but wet, pressed earth, broken rock, glass shards and splinters, erasing what was once essential and good. What hidden forces had awakened so much anger, leaving a landscape we no longer recognized? It's hard to imagine how something once so stalwart, fully integral to the stone edifice that held up that hill for centuries, could so quickly, so unceremoniously, and so cruelly cause everything to disappear. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Nancy, thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, please unmute, say a few words, whatever. Nancy, if you want to put the link to the book, please do.
Yes, please.
Oh, so I'm unfortunately, my chapbook has sold out. And I
Oh,
don't
wow.
think that my publisher is planning to print more. So I'm so sorry about that. That's too bad.
Well, that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
You're an excellent.
Congratulations. It's beautiful. All your poems are beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Nancy, I thought that was excellent. I think the imagery and the visualization of the eels, especially, that just like you just did so much with just that returning to that image and towards the theme of the eels. And I just thought that poem was brilliant. I want to speak to that one.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
I love your craft, Nancy. You are tight and taut and exemplary. And there's no filler in anything that you write. And that's a wonderful thing to listen to.
Thank you. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate it.
Our next featured reader. Hey, it's been a long time since we've had an all Hudson Valley First Friday. Everyone's from either Westchester or Dutchess County. That's pretty cool. Our third reader for the evening, Kathryn Weld, is a writer and mathematician living in Pleasantville, New York. She is the author of Afterimage, Pine Row Press, 2023, and a chapbook, Waking Light, Catawampus Press, 2019. Her poetry and prose appear in journals such as the American Book Review, the Cortland Review, Gyroscope Review, Southeast Review, Valparaiso Poetry Review, and elsewhere. Her website is www.kathrynweld.com. Another first timer to Calling All Poets. Kathryn Weld, you're up.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thanks to everyone for being here, and thanks to Jared and Nancy for just such a wonderful job so far. I've really enjoyed everything. Well, where to start? So I think I will start reading from my full-length collection, Afterimage, and then I'll read some new poems from my current project. Listening to Jared read all those wonderful poems about his children made me just realize how different it is when you start writing at a different age. And although I was always interested in writing, I didn't turn back to it until around the time when my parents began their decline. And my first book really is a kind of an elegy. So the tone is going to be very different than what happens when you're looking at your children growing up. So I'll start with this poem, Winterizing. And maybe I should just say that as I look through the poems in this book to read, I just realized how many of them are rooted in this winter image. Part of that is probably because I spent some formative time upstate at SUNY Potsdam, where I did my undergraduate degree, and part of that is because I have a summer place up in the mountains, and that's where this poem is set. Winterizing. A sibilance of flexing steel. The ancient oven door no longer locks for self-cleaning. So I steam the char loose by pouring white vinegar on the hot enamel floor. The metal sighs, a sharp release of tannic vapor. Everyone wants liminal, the deep, profound. But it's time to put the house to bed. Between glass and screen, clouds of egg sacs. Come vacuum, goodbye spiders. The casual mess of summer, corralled and packed. Suddenly I realize each bone of my finger is vulnerable. This is trust not one night's ice, and it's undoubtedly influenced by a habit of walking out on the Racket River in the middle of the night with friends up, in the 1970s. But it's also about my mom, who had Alzheimer's. Trust not one night's ice. Because depth is fickle, she told me, always cross a frozen river at its widest point. Weight held in tons, proportional to thickness squared, also to current. Because thickness wanes, we who build ice roads learn to drive with one leg out the door to save ourselves from jumping. The sage sculpts ice, its standing wave tilting eerie 4 feet higher on the eastern shore, then wave swings back, leaves hollow beneath. Ice holds nothing up unless supported by liquid. I fear not to be kind enough. A still night makes ice. I do not fear a dry crack. Ice is stronger when it blooms. And this is Seedbed, written really for my dad, who also probably suffered from something like Lewy body dementia, but we never knew what it was. It begins with daughter, the golden thread of parasitic stem twining into an orange hairnet. Pull down, bindweed, devil's guts, hellvine. I cannot find you. Blackness roots in the cold frame of your mind. One by one, each green branch withers and falls, making room for what? Your hand is doeskin soft and pillowy. Where, I ask? You point, then articulate. Forsythia. I prefer to think it ends with forsythia, cheery alien harbinger of spring. On that good early day, bloom and dead leaves. So a happier snow poem called Snow on Old Parishville Road, 1974. Most winter nights, my friend and I walked the lean back roads that curved and dipped away from town until we'd left campus lights behind. We walked past empty fields, past farms where ramshack meadows, ripe in summer with second growth, lay still by snow. We didn't mind that cold was sear. It just made our nostrils cling. Our route never changed. We walked 4 miles out, past the old schoolhouse, the brook, listened to its watery guttural, turned at a farmhouse, where between 2 barns, the art historian's whitewashed walls held Coptic scrolls, fabrics from Provence. Through bare window panes, golden with lamplight, we sometimes watched him cleaning up. She thought she loved me, and I him. Love was the darkness moving with us. And at the window, seasonal now because although it's May, the trout lily is still blooming in my yard, and the trout lily appears in this poem. Not leaf out yet. The April yard is scruff and bone. One lily, freckled gold. That flower took 18 years. I envy the ones that can put it all, wish by wish, into a garden, wait and wait. My body waits for me like soil, and I take root in warmth of dishwater, lithe soap and lard, the daub of sponge. My right hand sensing I'm here as it strokes the craquelure, left joining right to brush off bits of crust. My mother, rising in this channel of plenty, saying, as she did last night, if you run into someone I used to remember, please say hello. And this is tender. Particles tend to unite, and so do mother and I, each Sunday afternoon on an overstuffed sofa, not in payment of debt. A bruise, but never tender unnecessary information. The fennel, add milk and cook for 2 minutes. A car attached to a locomotive to carry water. A fire hose and swaddling. To tend the sick, a fire, laced fingers. The et of the French diminutive. A cat's paw licked clean. Attend to one's own sewing. The notion of stretching the mind. And this is pastel on fine rag. My father converted outbuildings to shrines, stacking piles of papers like cairns across the cabin floors. His thin script tallied mountains climbed, who came along, how much, how long each child took to summit. We never touched his records. After he died, my mother led us to each obscure nook, attic, or closet, where she stowed their treasures. In the walk-in cooler, a cardboard whiskey box held silver ashtrays, wrapped in newsprint. A bowl engraved June 16, 1951. A wicker picnic basket, mattresses wrapped in sheets against the mice. She brushed the balls of camphor off the wool snowshoe she'd worn at 2. Nothing thrown away. Andirons, taxidermy, a scruffy bighorn with glassy eyes, the broken stubs of my pastels. I wish you'd use them, she said. As a girl, I loved the clean expanse of unmarked paper, but each smudge of chalk, each imperfect line was a tiny death. I reused instead the diapers, remembering the girl who watched the ritual napery, the brother, talcumed and wriggling, the waffled folds, the exacting bite of the pin.
Sweet.
Since my son is the anonymous WB in this, I'll read a poem for him called Still Life from this book. My son, who is now a man, sons stork-like on a log, one leg dangling over water, He is driftwood, bleached clean. There is swimming in the lily pads and drying with tiny towels. The grid of sand to wipe away before the socks. A day that slingshots through my reckoning and lodges somewhere behind. I look down on a mosaic of black mussels nestled in the shoals and find strangers in the grown bodies of suns. Next time, there may be grasses, rain, a picnic of plums. I thought maybe I would also read some poems from my current book project. And of course, they have fallen all over the floor. So give me a minute. This is worse than losing the tabs in your book because they're not connected. I started writing poems initially in response to some Renaissance paintings. I was somehow attracted to the image of Eve in those very early Renaissance paintings. And so I started writing a series of letters to Eve, and it kind of kept going. So I'm going to read first a couple of those letters. And the first one is called Annual Eclipse. Dear, still to be plucked. You are not here yet. As Adam sleeps, divine fingers massage the puncture in his side. The summiter's eyes look inward, as if to conjure something unknown, born of vortex, seed of the void. None of us are here yet. No traffic jams of tourists waiting to glimpse the annular eclipse. Sometimes a miracle is seen with special glasses that block visible light, or photographed as an image in the mirror. None of us visible yet. And another letter, Slumber Party. Dear, holding the fruit. In the fresco, you're on the floor, practically beneath the bed. Your naked beauty not less than blue-eyed, blue-robed Madonna's, but she, dreamy-eyed, sits cushioned, nursing her toddler. Aura of gold. It's a surreal sleepover for you, no less golden, wanting to be in. And the serpent, coiling up the leg of the bed, has a tiny human head. Your up-tip face, tight with intent, you grip, but never glance at a small brown apple poised by your chin. Snake tail twists around your legs. For how many years have you tried to make sense of the shunning? So, after a while, Eve started to speak to me, and last summer I was lucky enough to be asked to write a bunch of poems up in Stonecrop Garden, and as did Marilyn Johnson, who is here today, and so I wrote several of these poems up there in a kind of different voice. This is the fall. Ruffled by dogs and bees, goldenrod and wrens, the garden was perfect. Perfect but not static. Windstorms arrived and floods, kudzu and saplings, and I started to mourn a beauty that never would last. And brooding on this, I did realize that lasting is illusion, but still, I could not stop gardening, trying to save a grotto or a patch of green and pink, hoeing and spreading compost, having 4 young women in overalls and boots who raved about working with plants, and though I missed the rub of soil beneath my palms, I felt lucky. I planned to reveal unseen pools and wooded beds, to ungird them, share them with friends for solace, as I wished to keep intact the fields where children, my own, blew milkweed seeds away, as I, being born of a rib, never had done myself. Also, the murmur of loved ones, how they spoke to me, and yes, I still remembered the serpent, his dear green tongue flicking, and Adam, now to dust, and I kept them close by showing girls coral bells that Abel loved, and the bounty of stargazing lilies, and the work needed to keep flower beds happy and weed-free. And some days, I glimpsed that work was not about saving the old, but rather raking whole new worlds into being. And the understanding came to me like blown pollen, like specks of earth on water. Each time I tried to return to the garden, now overrun by vines, the dusky grape, a deadly scarf for the white ash I used to love to sit beneath when I still lived here in the ripened, lucid green of my real home. Well, it's late and we really want to hear all of these poems from the open mic, but I'll read 2 more. This is The Hours of the Day. And it's another one of these poems that is a language poem playing on that term for eve, which really has so many meanings. Eve is the small hours, as if hours have sizes. Large for embraces of a grandchild, for shocks of grudge and grief. Small, with hushed movements, a sigh, the stirring of a mouse beneath the oak. It is owl light, a turning from night toward day, the half-light, hunting time, is vespers and prayer, is the start of crepuscule, of dim day. Pine boughs whisper, the pond lowers with backlit cloud. Street lamps turn on in a flash, blind us to the peripheral. It is the point in time at onset, cusp, threshold, edge. Someone already inside the garden. Was there an outside of the garden yet? Someone selling truth dangles from the shrubbery, and Eve opens the gate. And then this last poem is kind of a Thanksgiving poem. It was written after a Thanksgiving with friends. And in it, part of this Eve project, I was reading this book called The 13-Petal Rose, which is written by Eden Steinsaltz, and it's quite an extraordinary book on Kabbalah. And so the rabbi has his chance to get a few words in many of these poems, only in this one, I think, that the ones I read you. The last thing I'll say is that it's currently titled Living in the Land of Wandering, and The land of wandering is a translation of the land of Nod, which is where Cain went after exile. So anyway, living in the land of wandering, as I suppose we all are in some sense. On a lawn with cast statues, Liam is chased by toddler twins. As the three boys fly past, they blur in the shocked green of damp November, oblivious to the megalith of the Eggman, its vaguely human form bowing obliquely over the racing boys. Pale limbs flash. The twins shriek with determination, and adults look on, wondering at the prim ease of cast and polished bronze, as boys small and quick enough to pass beneath its austere sentience, self-realized through motion. As the rabbi said, the center of living lies outside existence. A thought discovered perhaps like this on a day in the fall with friends gathered to feast. The sculptor explains that the massive bronze just exists to listen. Louise sinks with the pleasure of 3 desserts, into a chair and looks out the bay window. The twins are subdued, entwined, and dressed for bed. They wrestle the dogs. But outside, the statue still broods, and now Louise recalls how, as a boy, riding in a car's back seat, he would tip his head and gaze out the rear window, and because space is curved and the car moving, and he himself in motion, he would ask his mind to roam as far back as he could discern to see if he would reach some distant place where he would see himself. And this is how Thanksgiving ends, for soon afterward, guests file out through the swinging gate, wobbling a bit in the transverse arc of the Eggman's gaze, carrying small bundles of fur-wrapped leftovers. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Kathryn, thank
Bravo, Kathy.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic work.
I'll put a link right now before I lose it in the chat to where you can find a link to my book. So,
Anyone can put links in at any time, and we encourage it. I try to buy at least 1 or 2 things from the links I get at every CAPS reading. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kathryn. How about a hand for Jared and Nancy and Kathryn? Any kind words anyone has to say, please feel free to say them. We got a big open mic, so we're going to get started.
Terrific, all 3 features.
Yeah, beautiful work, everyone.
Feel very warmed.
Yeah. Familial connections and chords strummed.
Yeah, and challenges overcome.
Yes. Yes.
I've noticed a recurring theme in 3 of the in all 3 of the featured guest readers is that there's this theme of very deeply introspective and reflective literature. It's coming from all 3. It seems like, I'm prompted into some sort of meditative repose upon listening to all 3 of you.
Yes.
And like I get this, like you all 3 have established like this meditative headspace and fill it with very imaginative imagery. So that's what I have to say across the board.
Excellent. Excellent comment. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Just a quick segue in June. Well, let's stay with May. May 15th, our next event will be with Jim Zimmerman. He will be our feature. That's our third Thursday open mic salon, whatever the heck you want to call it. And it starts at 7 p.m. also on Zoom. And then first Friday in June, it's June 6th, will be Holly Iglesias, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram, who some of you will recognize, and Arthur Russell. So I want to ask you to please join us if you can. Yeah, please join us if you can. Our first reader for this evening, I just want to ask everybody, all the open micers, keep it to the tight 2 minutes. I mean, 2 poems. 2 minutes. 2 poems. Tim Brennan, you're up.
It was here.
Oh, he's not?
I'm here.
There he is.
I was just silencing myself. A simple life casts a shadow. 1. A dog who makes the curb a city block long recently shed tears at the morning's meeting in mouse-ravaged light. 2. Before you vote on this list of candidate choices, do as a spendthrift, cuddled in the library, text thumbed up does. Remove the sexual from paranoia's vivid display. 3. After decades, the city smells like smoke again. The newly moneyed love the trash lids that work. And young mothers are surrounded and detained on a daily basis by the dismal RVs. When workers who keep us steady and focused, though rusted and useless, forget their lunches, we call the agents of brokers who will clear the streets of windshields without regret. 4. Take whatever comes. Take my father's last summer, over almost before it started. Be careful not to say who that is waking under your skin. 5. Walking past, head down, lost in thought or out of change, and alone by 10, he swore never to take a random thought from the jar again. And I have this second poem's A Vacancy, after J.H. Prynne. The clerics creaked loudly against blasphemy and any false tattoos on the hand. As the bird thus taken worth 1,000 or more words. Her doubled image betrays a wealth of excuse, the truth of which is yet to be redacted. Under interrogation, the evidence extracted, along with the teeth, was news revealed from the uppermost parts. Our voices joined in a mere mist trapped in the jungle for consolation. Once the major domo played his card, he turned the page and stiffened after sharing more than he'd intended and left the rest to gossip. It was fair to say, but left in silence, the tongue still under oath. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
That was fantastic, Tim. That was
Yeah, man. Left the rest to gossip. That's awesome.
It was fantastic.
Thank you, Tim. Margie, you're up. Margie, are you there?
I had to unmute. Okay, got it. Okay. So I've been writing all my life, and I've done a small amount of publishing, but the majority of what I've been doing is just writing. I just write. And then I need to get some sort of project or whatever. And I have a project, but this is not. What I'm going to do tonight is just a visual thing that I wrote, and I've got 2 glasses on now, Mike, so you know what's going on. That's a joke. Okay, this is untitled Sometimes poems are like pimples. Sometimes they just erupt and they spread all over the nearby surface of paper. Oily, pussy, exuberant, happy to exchange, happy to participate in the human biosphere. Sometimes poems are like cysts, encased deep in the lower reaches of the skinscape, and it requires diligent effort and careful extraction to be able to reach the hardened truth of the body's talents and to let them expunge slowly into the air. But either way, we are poems. We do it. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find. Oh, here, yeah. Here's the other one, untitled. The yellow slanty sunscape of an October late afternoon, the leftover hurricane winds tousling the yellow top leaves quite high above my ordinary life. Here on asphalt and cement, I am in awe of the wind and the sun. These elements go about their business, carry the detritus and the debris up into a cosmic blender that chomps and whirls, swirls and churls until the particles are so small they can duck under the whirlwind into the downward slant of a quiet airspace and settle onto dark black foam black soil where the sun cooks them into fertility. Thanks, guys.
Nicely done.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Margie. John Martucci. John. Don't leave me here on my own. John.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm going to read a few haiku. I'll try not to take too much time on this. Here we go. Forgetting the past, the mists of antiquity fogging the present. Birds at the feeder move and they fly off in fear, their meal surrendered. Allergic to truth, they react like a vampire exposed to sunlight. No time for quiet. Bipartisanship can wait till justice returns. Peace is a pipe dream when malice breaks down your door. Fight back or be crushed. Musk and his doge bags presuming to rule us all. Time to clear the air. Government of wolves and a populace of sheep. Guess who's getting fleeced? Though the darkness falls, shadows on the land still beam. There's a light somewhere. Thanks.
Beautiful, John. Thank you, buddy. Marilyn Johnson. You're next.
Hi,
Marilyn, where are you coming from?
I'm coming from, let's see, Pecanico Hills, I guess you would say.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
I'm hoping that my croaky voice will work. Quiet car. Whatever it is about you stirs the air in this train. Swaying, you lift your bag to the rack and slide in. I tuck my skirt, I nod. My notebook open, I watch the switching yards. The train picks up speed. You reach in your jacket, a notebook of your own. Riverland scrolls by. You point past me. A shorebird lifts its wings. Egret, you say, and we're off, whispering in the quiet car. You have that easy intimacy. I have it too. Stranger, brother, I'd tell you anything. Trees bend our way, The train pulls the wind. I think you're about to tell me anything too. I unwrap my sandwich. I've predicted our hunger. Look, it's already sliced in two. And the second poem is called I Need the Stories. I need the stories of girls herded into paddocks, girls sealed in crates, girls in locked factories, smoke curling at their feet, girls shuttered and swaddled, anchorites or nuns or daughters in thrall or captive in an ordinary house. I need the story of the girl with no prospects, the governess, the mail order bride, the one carried to the underworld. I need to hear about the girl who escaped and the marks she left on the closet wall. I need the diary left in the rubble. I need the tale told by the tooth in the door, the hanks of hair in the sink, the running shadow in the desert. I need the story of that girl, the last of her people, promenading for no one in a cape she stitched of feathers. Thank you.
Beautiful, Marilyn. Thank you.
Awesome.
Please feel free to join us any first Friday or third Thursday.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Timothy Maloney, you're next. Timothy, you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
All right. This poem is entitled Tornado. Traffic backs up for long minutes on the highway into town. Lights flashing in the distance are a first hint of what lies ahead. Inching forward, we see branches down, shingles missing, stoplights out. Nothing prepares us for apocalyptic devastation as far as the eye can see. Difficult to process. Incontrovertible evidence, if any were needed, of weather's ability to overwhelm human endeavor. Some suggest Mother Nature is fighting back. But why here, where no clear-cutting or strip mining or oil spills defile the earth? Simply put, this random consequence of colliding fronts could have wreaked havoc miles away, but didn't. And the residents of Wadena must pick up the pieces, thankful that sirens sounded and no lives were lost. My second poem is entitled James Taylor. The hair is mostly gone now, a respectable fringe above the collar, all that remains of the long hippie dude of 50 years ago. The face older, wiser, but the voice remarkably unchanged, a pleasing baritone with unerring pitch, crooning songs of compelling honesty, the guitar picking impeccable as ever, his onstage persona self-deprecating, devoid of affectation, the simple blue shirt and jeans, a metaphor for his calm, direct manner. Take me as I am, what you see is what you get. A troubadour who survived dark times to reach peace and redemption with a new wife and family, whose heartfelt tunes resonated during my own early trials of love and loneliness abroad. Emotions vividly recalled a lifetime later as the balladeer bears his soul in concert, triggering reflections on the dreams I had, the choices I made, and the person I became. Thank you all.
Beautiful, Tim. That was great. Thank you. Where are you coming from, Tim?
Hopewell Junction, New York.
Yay!
Wow, neighborhood.
Okay. Francie Camper, you're next. Francie, you still with us? Francie?
Yep, I'm sorry.
Ah, you're cool.
Yep, I'm unmuted now. Okay. So I'm going to read two related poems. It's called Sidon, Lebanon, 1902. Before they left home, a stranger came to the house. He unlaced and unfolded a leather pouch, which held a small kit. In the kit were some instruments and ink. There were 2 flies buzzing around the room, and her mother used a fan to keep them away and to cool her small, sweaty body. She can't remember much of it. The smells of steerage, splash of burials at sea. She could never answer the question about the mark on her wrist, not even while making ftaya with her granddaughters, who wanted to know why she had a tattoo of a Maronite cross. Siti, they said, it must have been in case they lost you on the way from there to here. And this is Sidon, Lebanon, 2024. In the middle of the night, the texts started, phone calls, telling them to leave their town, their homes, but where is it safe? Stay, leave, any decision can get them killed. Perhaps Ain el-Deb, the newspapers called it an unknown Christian village near Sidon. Their homes now in a danger zone. They moved to Ain el-Deb into a 6-story building, 100 people, give or take. And then in Ain el-Deb, bombs hit that building full of families, 71 civilians dead, children crushed, torn apart. A journalist tried to report. The world has to know. He broke down trying to report even before he found the bodies of his own family in the rubble. The Israeli statement, incidental damage to civilians and civilian property is not excessive in relation to the expected military advantage from the attack. They don't tattoo a Maronite cross on the girls anymore. They write on all the children's arms with a marker. Thank you.
Thank you for writing that. That was really,
Thank you,
I really
Francie.
want to thank you so much, friends.
Beautiful.
Come back, Francie. We love your voice.
I
thank
can't write the chat. I don't know how, but I just loved hearing you and what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Francie, where are you coming from?
Hastings on Hudson.
Another New Yorker. Yay, it's a New York.
But then the other half of the year, I come from Aquina, Massachusetts.
Well, thank you for spending the evening with us here in New
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lovely, lovely group. And I wouldn't have gotten here but for Kathy Weld.
Well, feel free to come by anytime you'd like.
Thank you very much.
Linette, you're next. The cat's favorite. Linette, you're up.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. An awesome reading by all the featured poets tonight. I have 2 short pieces to share. The first one is called A Lit Candle. Your replies help me to conclude that you are unsure of your status in my life. Are you needing concrete evidence that I am true to only you? Why have you faltered and why do you worry about the status of my love when you know that you are the candle that is ever lit in my heart with shades that will never let that fire dwindle? My love for you is compared to the candle analogy, which shows my love in perpetuity. But this love can never be harnessed or contained. So you never have to consider me not loving you because no other can capture me. It's only you that I love. And the second piece, and by the way, both of these pieces were published in Pulse Poetry Magazine. I'll put the link that just came out today. This next piece is called Literal Fire. My lies made the house catch fire. I hid my infidelity, my bad spending, the mess that I was, and it all spiraled when someone made my lies go viral. I don't know if it was jealousy, but the fact is I was a worst version of me, bitter, sick, and filled with tyranny, thinking my lies were hidden, but they were in the open and everyone did see the nasty version of me. My lies imploded, sparking deceitful fuel to ignite and burn the mansion of my soul, leaving only the ashes of my being, a flame like the fires of hell. Thank you.
Oh, another one.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes. Oh my God.
Linette.
Beautiful, Linette, as always. Thank you. I think you've left a few people stunned.
Yeah.
All right, coming in from Texas, John Bartell.
All right. Hello, but I do have my Mets hat on, so
Yes,
little
and
New York there.
they're winning at the moment 2-1.
All right. All right. Not beating the Rangers, I hope. Anyway, okay, so I have one poem. It's called Fire Season. Fire Season. American kestrel floats lazy circles across the sky, as if the wall of smoke that hangs behind her, marching lockstep forward, sanding fissures into the polished, is nothing more than a privacy curtain. Like the one pulled in that semi-private room at UMBC, corralling us around his bed in silence. Because what can you say when death takes a cigarette break? It is nothing more than a fairy tale. Brother, listen, run, flee. All you have to give is not tethered in this life. You are not safe in this place where the timbers will burn and embers will fall like spring rain, where even the salamanders will pray. Take with you all the things he gave you. The sweltering 4th of July crab feasts, fossil hunting in doomed wetlands, that camping trip in the Saddle Mountains when he quit climbing halfway up to light a Benson and Hedges, but you made it to the top and stood laughing in a tide of wildflowers, unconcerned with distant wisps of smoke rising lazily. Thank you.
Wow.
Well done.
Thank you, John. Lenny Dellaroca, you're next.
Thank you, Mike. What a great reading tonight. I know I say that every time we get together, but it really is. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I have two. This is called The Invention of Water and Fire for MH. A man goes into the water and never comes out. When I walk across the room, now that summer is almost here, something glistens on the table where I sit reading poetry to my wife. It's our phones shining, giving back light from the mango trees outside, the white poplar with crows in it. Our shining phones could easily take us to a stranger if we dialed the right number, or to my sister in Tennessee, where once on a visit we saw turkeys staggering on the side of the road, a family going home at dusk. I wonder who I might hear whisper if I call some random number. Maybe the man who walked into the water that day and never came back. Maybe he followed those little lights under the waves, fish with blue bodies and orange faces, flying, darting away in all directions in the blink of an eye. Fish that could be leaves in the fall when they fall to the ground. Silent bells in a sweet gum cathedral. Bells of fire that don't burn, only hush the slick, narrow street until the car goes by, making them leap, twirl in the air like a circus for birds. I think about the couple across the street who moved upstate. We visited them one time in autumn. Trees applauded in fierce colors as we drove, the road humming under tires, our old Chrysler rusting as we drove, smoke on a cold day, rain on a broken smile. They lived up there in that house that smelled like it was still being built, fresh wood, clean perfume under stars. It was the last we saw them. I know a man who becomes 2 handfuls of fire when he talks about his father and wife. Recently, she walked into the Laurel without her phone. She went swimming in the trees, he says. She'll be right back. And the other one, thank you. The other one is called The Unreliable Narrator. My old friend spends most of his time in a book, sticks his head out only when weather allows. He dreams about his tea and toast childhood, the invisible people he played with in his yard. Says he's always lived in another world. Me too. Sometimes I wake up on a train. Housewives stream by with clothespins in their teeth. They dress backyard lines with windy white underwear, pink sleeping gowns. I clickety-clack past the Ford and Pontiac junkyard, cannibalized for fenders. Chevy empire of exhausted fuel pumps, 100 wrecked transmissions in summer dirt, and rough boys on fruit boxes sipping root beer pass around a dirty magazine. Look, a huge Quonset hut near the regional airport, a helicopter repair shop. I once conducted a blood drive here after a small plane crashed, killing the pilot and somebody's sister-in-law. Nobody wanted to give blood. We recruiters had a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. A mechanic up to her elbows in gearbox guts cursed when her thumb was in the wrong place. For that mistake, a throbbing wrench snakebite. I said, can't trust those helicopters, huh? Get the fuck off my property, she said. The train makes its way across town. The conductor comes by with fireflies in his hair. What's that you're painting? An abstract representing man's inhumanity to man, I say. But really, it's the human condition. What with the triangles and secret codes? Looks like my bowling friend Ed, he says. I had a cousin named Ed, played lacrosse. Smiled when he rapped his knuckles on his cup. But maybe I'm painting a machine without knowing it. Something I saw when we rolled past the Piggly Wiggly, a spaceship. Got itself hung up in orbit around a planet and never broke loose in a million years until it ditched itself here at 402 Ferndale Court in Copiague. My family was the first to live in this house. A kid named Charlie lived behind us. He carried a book around with him. I watched him read under his dad's red maple that was lightning struck in '58. After we moved away, I heard Charlie made things shine just before they danced away down the street. He was a machinist, the paper said. Though everyone liked him, they kept their distance. Neighbors didn't trust book readers. but said he made the most joyous things out of broken toys. I'd like to reach out to Charlie, ask him if he remembers me, but I don't think he would. I'm not sure he was real anyway. I might have dreamed him up, out of dungarees and checkered shirts flapping in the sun, my mother reeling him out on a rope in the backyard. Thank you.
Lenny, that last poem was awesome.
Thanks.
Totally awesome.
Man, oh man.
That's great work.
How do you do that?
LSD.
Yeah, that worked for me for a while, but yeah.
Still works for me.
Damn, I can't do drugs. I wish I could.
Ken Holland, you're next. Thank you, Lenny.
Oh, it's always easy and a pleasure to follow Lenny. Ain't nothing to it. So two poems. The first one is very short. It's called "All the News, Such as It Is Gray." This is a poem driven by its title, a title that thinks it is a poem which has said all it has to say. So the second poem, thank you. The second poem is it's got the word climb is in the last line, but it's the climb is in climate climb, CLIME, not, you know. It's called The Radiant Reach of Heat. As if to be human is to seek the warmth of another body, skin and the course of blood beneath. The blood beneath the skin of a city street, how it gives back the heat when dusk untethers from the sun's radiant reach. The radiant reach of the heat rising from the skin of the street, as would any figure of lonely drift and form, a form that you meet in the shape of its heat and carry into the cool clime of dawn. Thank you for listening. And as Lenny said, what a bevy of strength tonight. It's been great.
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful.
Well done, Ken. Thank you. How else do we follow Ken Holland? But with Amanda Russell, you're next.
Oh no. Okay. I'm actually I'm gonna read this poem like out of my notebook. It's a bit messy and I really can't believe I'm gonna read it, but I am, so I'm just gonna read it. All right, and then I have another one that's a little more like, better. Maybe, yeah. My apologies. I'm not queer, and this isn't a breakup poem. My life isn't as exciting. I'm no world traveler, no ice diver. The traveling I do is around my garden. And this could be another poem about my garden, but no. I'm in the break room. It's almost embarrassing. Got to clock in 10 minutes, and I want those 10 minutes to matter. The next poem I have for reading is Chin Chin's Frog Hopping Gravestones after Bert Hardy. It says, I love Chin Chin, but who is Bert Hardy? Frog hopping. I have a poet friend who says we live life like that. Cross the great pond, just trying not to fall into the muck. I'm in the muck. I have fallen and haven't tried frog hopping. Such a happy word for a desperate situation. Gravestones. When my aunt died, I inherited her rain barrel. It's waiting out the frost in my backyard shed. I'd emptied it before the freeze. Each time I used water from its spout, I thanked my aunt. Oh yes, I put a spout on it. The spout she never did. For her, the rain barrel was a camera without a lens. Bert Hardy was a photographer. I have to clock in 2 minutes. Search results show that Bert Hardy is best known for his warm and humane portrayal of everyday Britain. How is it everything looks more vibrant and black and white, life more vivid than laughter or betrayal, dramatic as all hell, cognac and coffee, dramatic as kissing in public. And those, some of those last words are taken from titles of his photos. And now I'm going to read one that's like more finished, or maybe we'll see. Okay, it's called Serenity. Since I have yet to accept a whole day without wanting a twist here or there, I've decided to stop digging through the drawer of silverware to find my favorite spoon. Its perfect stainless bowl, its long stem and handle embellished like a lily looking to the left. And I decided that next time I serve my son's favorite dinner of black beans and white rice, or pour afternoon coffee for my husband, I will not skip my favorite spoon to give a lesser one, but share it. And if some evening, after making myself a bowl of cereal, I pull open the drawer and see my favorite spoon on top, I will not think, on this day, at this time, do I deserve it, but open my hand and accept it, and I will raise the gifts again and again to my lips. Thank you.
Sweet, wonderful,
Beautifully done.
wonderful, beautiful, lyrical and elegant. So good. Ugh.
Amanda Russell, everyone. Guy Reed, you're next.
All right. I was inspired by the features to read some older poems, or just family. Apples. I pack a fresh homegrown apple into my daughter's brown bag lunch. 6 weeks into high school, her mornings have more makeup and the bus stop now at the end of the country lane. We rush to wait in the car, listen to music or the weather. Some mornings were foggy or grumpy or like today, silent. She's grown long legs, has the same large hazel eyes. Her hair is blonde and purple. She wears black boots. Backpack on shoulders, books held in folded arms, she glides onto the bus with ease. Mutsu apples, yellow-green with a rose blush, lie still under the trees in the brown grass of October, dew sheen on their skin in the amber light of early morning. The ground will swallow these sweet globes, autumn's truth at the end of spring's promise. These trees bear fruit every other year. No choice but patience. The sun continues to glow, but the warmth has gone south, leaving a trail of gold which will fade to white, then gray, long before school bells are silenced again for summer. The apple placed on the teacher's desk, fairy tale, left behind, when time was something we were busy learning how to keep. I'm going to read one, I don't know, for my mom. You can call for moms. My Savior. I had lain perfectly still in the dark bedroom, convinced if I moved even one toe, God would instantly strike me dead. I had just begun kindergarten. Mother's footsteps came near enough to call out, not too loudly, lest I make a movement and disturb God's unwavering mind and eye. Light cut in from the hall as she entered. No, honey, God would never do that, especially to a good boy like you, she cooed, as if I were her baby bird, coaxed to its first leap of faith. Raised a finger, then moved a hand. I continued to breathe, shook my legs, and my heart still beat. Escaping the all-seeing, all-knowing great pain of death, unscathed, a shudder of tears released. I knew my mother backed God down to save me in my footed pajamas. Through childhood tribulations to follow, all the years of my father's angry rants and punishments, she had my back. She became the New Testament. Thank you. Great night, Gabs.
I love hearing you read, Guy. I love
Thanks, Greg.
fan. Such a giant fan. Lots of other people in the chat.
Roberta Gould, you're next. Roberta, you still with us?
She's here. I saw her a moment ago. But maybe not, too. No, I don't think she's here. Oh, that's a shame.
Dang. All right, we'll try her next. We'll come back to her. SL Maurice, you're next. No.
That's you, SL.
There we go. There we go. Hold on 1 minute.
Hey.
Just pulling up my poems.
As a sound check, you sound pretty good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm outside right now. I got this lovely like scenic street light lit up for me. I'm feel I think it fits the vibe of what I'm about to read. This is the title poem to my poetry collection, which is out on Amazon. It's Vibrant Sounds, Colors, and Motion, and I'm currently just wrapping up the edits on my next edition, the second edition of this book. I've had to really finesse a thing or two with the poems that I had released out since 2023. I spent a great deal of time really kind of tailoring to some sore tender parts in the verse and prose, and it's been an arduous task to really kind of put all these poems in a place where I want them to be. So that being said, I'm going to read the title poem right now. It's titled Vibrant Sounds, Colors, and Motion. 1994, the year I was born, a split down the middle of the living room from basement to attic started to form. A couple years later, it fell in half. F's crawled out from the pit along with the bats and asks, clambering about the wreckage, they basked in midsummer rain. I got headaches years after. My skull was a conch, pulsing with migraine and orchestral overtones. I emerged into the world from the infinitesimal possibilities of non-existence, into flux, reverberation, vibrant sounds, and colors of motion. A gray cat slinks along the windowsill of my early memory, purrs, and rubs their neck on the water pipes. On one half, old pictures gleaned in dreams, stacks of newspapers and books on herbal medicine and holistic remedies. On the other hand, the kitchen full of home improvement projects, hands strained to stay steady, a half dozen televisions planted in the grape garden with vines growing out from them in their fullest definition. A brook ran through the basement, cold, running into the Hudson, the Mohawk, then out to the Homeric wine dark, subject to long sighs after divine laughter ceases, moments of primary experience but ripples across the waters of otherwise acquiescent indifference. The sublime wines are fermented from grapes grown on infinitely forested vines to be harvested by finite moments in time. The poem, as the slightest fluttering of a moth landing with finality upon specified time, placement, and thought, catching in its vision everything the light from a flickering bulb touches first. Thank you.
That was great, SL. Oh, man. I think we should do a whole Zoom event of nothing but all of us going out on the streets and reading our poems. I think that's fantastic. So good. So good.
This next one, You know, I don't know what it is with these with us upstate New Yorkers. We live here, you know. You'd think that after a while we would just get the names to all of the counties, the cities, the hamlets and villages we pass throughout on a regular basis, you know. And I think about not my birthing place, but my father's birthing place, where extended family live. You know, it's this area it's pronounced, it's no one can get it right. No one can get the pronunciation right, but it's pronounced Scary. And on that note, it's spelled Rorschach, Rorschach, Rorschach. Caught
Yes,
off guard on an unfortunate switch closer to short circuit. Everything goes dark. I search with clenched eyes through the white static of self-talk. Emerge inchoate and impossible to find without arms outstretched. Sometimes in Super 8, I see the fall all over again. Autumn all over again. Awkward. Charlie Browning it. With copper fingers by light sockets and the current electrifying, stinging frigid in my bones, flash back the streams of fleeting Nemazine, riding high curled khakis in creek waters, catching my inner voice in a netting of stanza, structure, meter, the lyric of a thought swimming as a crayfish would, upstream, backwards. No one says crawdad around here. I write scary across a still part in the creek bed of memory, skip a stone across it. That's how you pronounce Skahari. It's scary, all right. Scary. My big brother's laughter also skips like a stone. Jonathan, John for short, sonar for middle school's sake, took one school trip to Darien Lake. After an incident involving bunk frisbee, a headgear, and poor hand to eye coordination, his laughter still ricochets. Dark and searching through ink black creek water, Rorschach painting bubbles into form. Poems surface like that, noticing patterns, recognizing contours and shape that go unnoticed otherwise, like hands that don't yet know how to shadow puppet a dog from a wolf or a stray dog from the neighbors. Before our weekly visit to see family in Richmondville, down the long hallway to the right was Dad's office, with Rorschach butterflies fluttering across his casework desk, across a young picture of himself next to an uncle I never met. He's my dad's foster brother. Uncle Tommy was young and tied up in more than a crayfish net, experiencing an episode more convincing than a Peanuts after-school special. He picked up a stray dog, and much like his mind, he was wondering how to find the rightful home. The police didn't know the language of social work, nor did they care to. They just called it breaking the law. Uncle Tommy didn't know that. None of the arresting officers gave him a how, what, when, or why, no matter how much he asked. The police didn't even give him his regular clothes back, just fatigues. In the midst of manic episode, he couldn't do anything about it at all. He hung himself while in jail. My dad couldn't do anything about it. And decades in the past, neither could we. That's what it's like, falling in Schoharie Creek, deeper well underwater, vast, ink black, like the River Nebazine. Thank you.
Oh, excellent work, SL. Thank you so much for joining in tonight.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, fantastic.
Come on by anytime you can.
Definitely.
All right, Bob Heman, you're next.
Okay. I'm going to read two new information pieces, both very short. Information. The torpedo, only sometimes a bicycle, only sometimes a woman carrying a box of books. The trees and the turnips and caterpillars worshipped as gods. The distance always, only some counting. Their path filled with adjectives they are required to use.
Wow.
Information. Even the priest was afraid. Even the door had to be explained. Even the trees were praying. Even the road was incomplete. Even the woman was missing. Even the animals had learned to speak. Thank you.
Bob Heman, always great to see you, great to hear you. Thanks for joining in
Thank you.
tonight. I'm going to do two quick ones. This one's called Dilettante Thing. Constantly on book tours, my peers leave me sitting in the office with the wrong pants on when a conga line jumps the rails tacking south on 21. Cha-cha, choo-choo, vagabond monk takes tithings, 3 steps left, 4 steps north, and whee! The seditious parade, torches, torches, blood, and soil.
Jack likes it too.
All right, and the next one is called We Bear a King. Imagine, like Mayans, we bear aloft a king, a feral brute rash with bile, his churlish beans the creed of legion. Imagine, like Mayans, we bear a king.
God. Hoping not to do that.
Thank you, everybody. Our next open micer is Sam Hardy. Are you still with us?
Yeah, right here.
Cool. Come on up.
All right. The first poem I'm going to read is called Silences. I thirst, so I drink. I hunger, so I eat. But what of the silences, the times we do not speak? Nowadays, so many words are banned, left unspoken, made taboo by those so very unlike me and you. So many silences to be broken. Is freedom now a taboo subject? Has fear replaced logic? I will admit, I am afraid, yes. So many thoughts in my head unsaid. I regret my silences, my brief affair with restraint, a temporary dalliance, withholding my tongue in a war that has begun, yet is ongoing with words that used to be overflowing. Equality, elderly, diversity, women, words that have been threatened, words that want to remain unsaid, words they try to imprison inside our head. Of all my life's past mistakes, I most regret my silences, because the fact that they must be spoken is not an idea, propaganda, or an outdated notion. Don't you see, they fear us because they fear the visibility we each need to live free. The world sits waiting for fearlessness while being choked by fear itself. Voices swallowed up by tyrannies while waiting for someone else to fight the good fight. Silence be damned. We must scream with all our might. Their betting will be quiet and obey their every choice, but it's time to stand up to the tyrannies and have our own voice. I wrote this as a neurodivergent, elderly, disabled lesbian poet. I'm not a freak, a spectacle, or a token, but as a person silent too long. So please listen up. Silences must be spoken. And then the next one, which is somewhere around here. I probably can't find my next poem because I'm not from New York, damn it. Should have been from New York. I could have found. Okay, here it is. I got it now. All right, I'm going to give a content warning because this may be, it's a little, it alludes to some sexual assault. Try to do the best I can here. I know something happened to him. Somewhere out there, someone fitted him with his first wife beater t-shirt and bought him cigarettes, fed him lies about how he was Superman. Someone big and strong came along and built his ego up so very high and so tall that it was too big for anyone to handle. Someone who told him lies and made him think he was irresistible, that he was the man with a D-A, and no one dared to refuse him. They amputated his sense of decency, his empathy for all others. But I don't care. I don't care about his problems, only what he did to me. Made me grow up thinking all men were animals, scared to be myself, not being really sure who I was anyway, a little girl who thought it was okay to be a whore. So yeah, he ruined me. He was ruined by someone, but I don't care. That's it.
Strong voice. Thank you.
Yes, please
Thanks.
Thank you.
come back.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to hear more. Absolutely. Personal.
Julian, you still with us?
Yes, I am. And I've locked my, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
I've locked my cat out of my office. But this is called House of Bewitching Beasts. Ariadne crouches on my chest, making biscuits, kneading her needle-sharp claws into the blue plush of my nightgown. So thick, I barely feel a thing. She stares into my eyes with her single golden one. The other is cataract clouded, sightless, a pearlescent gray that matches her sleek gray coat. She's thin and frail, living out her 9th life, yet determined to pummel me into submission. I slip into a foggy limbo state of sleep. I'm at my daughter's house in Woodstock, pet sitting for a week in April while she and her husband explore the sunny wonders of America's Southwest. I'm caring for 4 beasts, Ariadne and another cat, Pumpkin, a green-eyed beauty with long dark hair, plus 2 dogs of mysterious heritage. Callisto, black with white markings, part lab, part hound, bouncy and rambunctious. Jerry, a pint-sized mutt with long flowing white hair and black patches, found abandoned on a street in Albany. I embraced this opportunity. A beautiful home in an artistic village, no one to talk or answer to but 4 animals. A perfect writer's retreat for free. Once here, I set up my computer, spread out the papers of my poetry book in progress, but something cast a spell on me. Till now, I haven't written a single word. It isn't writer's block, it's something more profound. My quartet of animal familiars sleep the day away. We breakfast, the dogs do their business in the fenced-in yard, then bark to come back in and back to sleep. Prime writing time, but as I read and sip my coffee, Ariadne makes her stealth attack. Surrounded by slumbering female energy, I succumb, become a member of the pack. The decorating scheme is Gothic noir. Heavy purple floor-to-ceiling drapes shut out the sunlight. Painted shades of faded sage-glow walls. Somber prints and paintings in black, blood red, and earth tones suck up light. Exotic globes and pendants of metal and blown orange glass hang from chains suspended from the ceiling. Black wrought iron arabesques frame empty mirrors and shield the fireplace. The shower curtain, black and white, is patterned with horrific sea monsters rising from writhing waves. The stairwell to the 2nd floor is painted bloody crimson. The guest room where I sleep features black wallpaper with pale brown dogs of various breeds flying gracefully through midnight skies on enormous wings. At the bottom of the stairwell hangs a painting with the cheeriest colors in the house, an oil I painted decades back, a vase of flowers from my garden, a fauvist explosion of red, oranges, and purples. Only the drooping cascades of blood-red amaranth echo the neo-Gothic ambience. My daughter bought this house in 2009 after her first husband died. For many days and nights, I stayed to care for her 2 young daughters, both beautiful. The older, moody and introverted, the younger, cheerful and energetic. My daughter traveled for her new career with New York State. I chauffeured the girls to endless after-school activities, soccer practice, art and dance classes, play dates, and sleepovers. I walked Sequoia, their black chow mix, to catch and meet the school bus. The house was sunnier and brighter then. My younger grandchild loved to shop, loved to drag Grandma through the malls, and Grandma loved indulging her, splurging on clothes in vivid pinks and oranges and pigging out at Friendly's. But as she reached middle school, her taste in fashion changed, grew darker and more somber like her sisters and her mother's, heavy on the black. Those girls are women now, carving out successful lives in major cities. I see them rarely when they make it home for Christmas or Thanksgiving, or more recently, a family funeral. My retreat week's nearly over. April has evolved. The days are sunnier and warmer. The maples are pushing out new leaflets, daffodils are blooming, and pink buds are swelling on the cherry tree out front. The wisteria vines that drape the archway to the entrance are coming to life again. A murder of crows visits the backyard, their feathers iridescent in the sunshine. At last, the animals accept me as leader of the pack. They were calm and friendly from the start. They still sleep a lot, but there's more urgency in their eyes as they follow me around from room to room and plop down at my feet. As for me, I've shaken off that leaden lethargy that plagued me at the start. I've begun to write again. Inspiration is flowing freely. Maybe those days of stupor or slumber were therapeutic after all. Especially at night, that house still exudes that gothic noirish vibe that casts a certain spell. When she returns, I could ask my daughter why she chose this dark aesthetic. I've got my theories, but families have their secrets, and some are better left unspoken. Sorry, that got long. But
Julie, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Julie,
yeah,
funny.
and I did actually ask her when she got back, and that style, she actually said, has a name. She explained to me why she liked it, but then there's an actual style called, what is it called? Anyway, something noir, something goth.
All right, Julie, we're gonna have to move on.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
If you think of what the style is, put it in the chat.
Whimsy goth. That's
We like whimsy.
Whimsy goth.
We got whimsy. Thank you, Julie. Aaliyah, you're next. Aaliyah, you still with us?
Okay.
I hear voices. There she is.
Saw you for a moment, Aaliyah.
She was there for a moment. There she is.
Okay, it's called A Sapling's Wary. A little sparse tree looks yonder, seeing the large tree ahead, envious of the leaves around, crowning it with glory, and yet waits meager and scant. All limp switches and no branches, straight like a board, nothing to hang on to, nothing to lean on. How long must it wait to have its chance at kissing the sun, been adored by birdsong and longed for by the moon? At this rate, long days stretch ahead before reaching maturity, bending trunk with smooth branches, nothing worn, but nothing sage. Ripping winds threaten to snatch it from its very plot, topple it over, lay it on its side, press it against the cold slab, smear dirt on its leaves. Will its tears taste sour from never feeling its limbs grow, bitter at the lack of a fair start, or sweet, returning too soon to its mother? Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. It's always good to see you. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Ali. I love that. Against the cold slab, never feeling its limbs grow. Such wonderful phrases and lines. Really, really good.
All right, our penultimate open micer for the evening, Joan Goodman, you're next.
Thank you. I want to apologize. I don't know if I think it was S.L. Maurice who was starting to read, and I didn't realize I was off, off mute. And I responded to his pronunciation of the local cities, and I want to say not only Schoharie, but Valatia. It's not Valati. Okay. Anyway, I want to do an experiment here. This is a poem that got lost in a notebook for a year and a half, almost, no, 2 years. And I discovered it this afternoon and thought, yeah, I'm going to try it out for you guys. And this is dedicated, it's called For Regina Carter, because I was listening to her. She's a fabulous performance artist, filmmaker and poet who was reading last June 2023 at the Dogs of Desire Fest, which I wanted to put a plug in there for that too. If you haven't heard about it, it happens in June, and it's a wonderful event. So I was listening to her performance with the ASO, and this is what came out of it. Part of it is riffing off the words she was actually speaking to. Urban renewal? Compared to what? Bang on a can, bang on a drum, bang out the sound of something clapping, doors slamming, shut. Shut the door, shut your mouth. Don't you dare. Who cares? If I care enough, does that give you an opening to hurt me? More, further, hum the sound of one hand clapping, the sound of a bleeding heart for what was shorn from our hands. Do they matter? The matter of the heart, of the neighborhood, in the vicinity of the heart, corpuscles bleed out cash, and the rash acts of corporate, the greed that seeds the transplant. Where will they plant you next? Circulation stopped, population popped into some other pocket, once displaced, of urban blight, lied about. The convenient lie that saved the pocket, that sewed the pocket shut, sowed those displaced seeds, the scattered mass, the falsely placid pack of politicians who blithely banned the congregation from their rightful church. And who will redeem those masses, scattered to the four winds of change, inexorable and inexorably linked to progress? That capital P, Albany. Please, can you tell me who gave you the right? Ding dong, the witch is dead. The bee that buzzed the wrong buzzer this time started a rumble. Buildings crumbled, ages upon ages, discriminated. Once again, the grunt and strain of slaves, the sweat and toil, oiled the engine, greased the wheel of the money-making machine. Shut the shuttered door, pound it down. We aren't working here no more. They done shoved us all the way across the freeway. They were damn bound to complete. Never mind, it was my street, you bombed out. Really? Urban beauty to urban blight? No slum, but you defined it conveniently. A path of construction, the eve of destruction. No one, no compunction, no pop could stop progress, you say. Smiling faces, wiped away. No way, no way. Can you take this place we can't replace in 1,000 ways to the 1,000th generation? The stain remains enslaved to the consciousness of a nation displaced.
Well done.
I've got one more. Can I do one more, Mike?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, this one's called The Perfect Bowl. And What's coming up is the death date of my dearly beloved second companion. And this was written for him in 2021. On the day of your funeral, oh, it's called The Perfect Bowl. On the day of your funeral, I broke my favorite bowl. I stare at the shards and mourn the loss. It was perfect. It served me well. Perfect for multiple uses, always in close reach. Pardon me, someone's shuffling papers. I think it's Julie. Julie, could you mute? There we go. I'm going to start again, if you don't mind. On the day of your funeral, I broke my favorite bowl. I stare at the shards and mourn the loss. It was perfect. It served me well. Perfect for multiple uses, always in close reach. It made itself available. I could choose what I wanted to put into it. It could be heated or chilled, the right size for a large portion of soup, a salad, a serving of stew. Easy to lift into the microwave, easy to carry to remote locations, the snack table by the TV, the porch, the stoop. I loved that bowl. But I made a mistake. I wish it would always be with me. So then, in the next moment, it slipped from my hand and was broken. The moment I make that wish about anything, my favorite sweater or tote bag, a walking stick, a notebook, a poem, it shrivels, melts, disappears. It walks away or leans and gets forgotten against some wall or on a grassy hill. You were the perfect bowl. There when I needed you, full of what nourished me most. You held my hopes and held up new ambitions. You were overflowing with kindness. I have wished to lighten my load, to move on. Whenever I break or lose something, I rejoice for what's been lifted, the weight of too many belongings, too much stuff, clutter, demanding attention, delaying progress, distractions from the work I need to do. The nostalgic drag of past glories pulls the mind backward. But the perfect weight of your soul floats over me. It cannot shatter, will never break. The bond we had in life now floats between us. The filament of your memory I am tethered to forever. The living grace the dead with blind homage, grateful for the distraction, keeping them from the fear of day. Sunlight coming to sharp, unblinking bright, spoiled. No one can blink when the dead call for attention. A moment listening is worth many watching. The music of this moment cannot help blessing us, and what we see is none of what we get. This day, this blinding day, having to know you are not long for this world, will keep me singing to forget, speaking of everything else, anything but the children, far away in a dark place, on a dangerous highway, in the company of stranger people than myself. If this brings you joy at all, then there is reason and time enough to call the children in for dinner, catch the cat and feed her too, lie beside the aging hound and bark with him in his senility. Keep company. His hair, you don't realize, will show up in a garment bag 5 years after his passing. And you will stand in a crowd listening to the folk singer after the reading, writing words, pictures, songs to an old love, for his sake a little better and happier to be in this reverie. Thank you.
Beautiful dedication, Joan. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for letting me read this late. You know, I was so chagrined that I'd forgotten about it. I was sitting here having dinner and suddenly it was like, damn. Okay.
Oh, you're always welcome. You know that.
Well, thank you for taking me on late. And I loved everything I heard tonight. Exquisite readers. So thanks.
And speaking of that, I want to thank our featured readers, Nancy and Jared and Kathryn. I know we're running a little bit late, but our last featured our last open micer for the evening, the man behind the curtain, Mr. Greg Correll.
To respect everyone's long evening, I have a short and a shortish poem. The first one is called Caught at the Button. Not tall enough to fight back. My arms a basket over my head. Caught at the button, his button, mid-sternum, lifting my squeezed arms. He lets go with the right and pummels me. Fist closed for one last sock, cracked molar, fat lip. That's my dad. He sure taught me. And the other poem is called Go 10 Toes Down. Just say it. Your God wants me down and out because I don't believe. Your God promises mansions and TVs, plus death to heathens. Stones for horny women, stones for impure girls. Eternal punishment afterwards for being human. One who are three, three who is one. You don't own loving kindness, you crabbed soul. Anyone can be compassionate, you miser. No one is sacred. No one has a magic pixie spirit hiding between her atoms. We're magnificent. How our atoms came together, cheating nothingness for a brief time, as if infinity was suspended for our short, terrible, lyrical lives. We comment on the vast reality we inhabit like a mirror held before mirrors, history in our stomach, civics in our womb, biology in our nethers, beauty in our brains. We look out at this butcher shop, the old growth, the infinite shorelines, and we try to be safe, comforted, well-fed, free.
A hand for Greg Correll.
Greg, that was terrific.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Jared, Nancy, Kathryn, thank you again. All our open micers, thank you. We couldn't do this without you guys, so thanks for being here. Unmute and have a few final words. Feel free.
Great evening. Thank you all.
Great work, everyone.
Lovely to be part of this. Thank you.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
So I
Thanks so
can't
much.
believe how consistently fine the work is. The readings just please me tremendously. It's very impressive. So I don't know how we managed to collect this many wonderful people, but it's great that we do. I wanted to ask if any of the features could stop and talk to me. I would love to use just a minute to ask, to talk about whether you've published, where you've published, how you managed to get it together to do that, because I'm having a hard time doing it myself. And Greg, thank you again. I want to Zoom with you as soon as we can. It's my fault that I can't get it together to email you often.
All right, all you New Yorkers, thanks for making me feel so welcome.
You're welcome, Sam. Thanks a lot for coming
Sam
on.
signing off in New Orleans.
Great hat, too.
Take care.
Love that.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
On the back it says I bleed ink on the back.
Oh, wow.
Seriously, I got it for my birthday.
Really.
All right, y'all, take care, okay?
Take care of yourself. See you next month or
Love
this
it.
month, however the
Love
case
it.
might be.
I was also having reception problems, by the way, Mike. I don't know if that's common with people tonight, but I was blinking on and off. I had to keep resuming to get.
I think the only person who really had a problem was Roberta, but she was here for most of the evening and then all of a sudden fell off. I don't know for sure though.
Me, I kept falling off, so I have to see if there's something wrong with my
I was
internet.
I
But
was
does
having issues
any-
too.
Anybody who's left want to have a comment about publication or Greg, can we hang on for a minute and talk about it?
Few minutes, but it's a long night.
I know it's late. It's later than I thought, actually. It's almost 10. Maybe just set up for a next time.
I think next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Greg's
Okay,
been
Mike,
here
I
much.
don't want to. I don't
Greg's
want
been
to.
here longer than I have, so it's.
You're the one. You're the host, right, Mike? So you want to get off. But Greg, when could we Zoom? Like how soon?
Next week, Monday or Tuesday, I think I suggested in my latest email.
Okay, so I may have missed it. You know, communicating by email is the toughest thing for me. I just get really flummoxed by it and lose things. I searched for your name for a couple of weeks and gave up, and then later discovered that an email I had missed showed up. So it's a problem. If there's any other way we can talk by phone at all, it, I know you can't, right?
Perhaps, yeah, it's just bad reception.
I got it. Poor Mike. Oh, look at that. Oh, God. Mike, that's a you're muted again. Okay, so Greg, if I could
The cats
just
keep getting in the way.
I will.
Ah.
Next
If
No.
I would like to do some work on Monday and then talk to you either Monday or like Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. What's better for you?
Tuesday morning at various times are good, but check my email.
I check your email, but if you want to just say right now, say 11 on Tuesday. I haven't got my calendar in front of me. Listen, I'm a disorganized mess. But I will find the calendar and make sure that Tuesday at 11 works, or else I'll give you another, I'll give you an email confirmation anyway, okay?
Tuesday at 11. You bet.
I sure appreciate your patience and
You're
thank you for a great, as much as I missed the beginning of it because that's what I do. I sat down here to have dinner, having thought about it just an hour before that, on my way home thinking, yeah, I'm going to make it on time. I'm going to get there. And what did I do? Got home and cooked.
Life is just like this.
Gotta
But
eat.
it's like, isn't it too often true?
So I'm going to shut down.
Yeah, we're gonna say good night, Joan.
Thank
Greg,
you.
thank you,
Good night.
Mike.
You guys. Good night, Mike.
So long.
Talk to you during the week.
Happy weekend.